Have you ever really thought about the clothes you're wearing right now? I mean, really thought about them? Because there's this unseen, powerful force at work in every single thread. A force that, believe it or not, both creates and destroys your favorite shirt.
So, what is this invisible force? It's the very thing that allows yarn to be spun in the first place. But it's also the exact same culprit that causes that yarn to break and fray over time. Kind of weird, right? Okay, let's dive into this fascinating contradiction.
And that force? Well, it's friction. In textiles, you can just imagine it as this constant little battle happening between millions of tiny fibers every single second. It's a pretty simple concept on the surface, but its role in making and breaking your clothes is incredibly complex.
And, not all friction is the same. You've got static friction. Think of that as the initial grip you have to overcome to get something moving. And then there's kinetic friction, which is the resistance you feel once things are already sliding. This little difference is absolutely key to everything, from how a fabric feels to how it holds up.
So first, let's talk about friction's good side. We usually think of friction as a bad thing, right? Something that slows everything down. But in the world of textiles, it is the absolute unsung hero of the story. Without it, your clothes just plain couldn't exist.
I mean, friction is basically the secret ingredient at every single step. It's what holds all those loose fibers together, which lets them be drawn out and twisted into a strong, cohesive yarn. That grip is what maintains the tension you need for winding and weaving. It even helps clean the yarn and gives the final cloth its unique shine. It's a creative force for sure. But like in any good story, every hero has a dork side. And that same force that so beautifully holds everything together can also be a relentless saboteur, just constantly trying to tear it all apart. Yeah, too much friction is an absolute disaster. It literally snaps the yarn during high-speed weaving, it creates these ugly little knots called neps, and it just grinds down expensive machinery. It can even generate static electricity that acts like a magnet for dirt, making fabrics look grimy. It's the reason your favorite sweater gets all fuzzy and why seams can get damaged. Now, this invisible force isn't just some abstract concept. Scientists can actually measure it with incredible precision. One of the classic ways is called the capstan method. Basically, they run yarn over a cylinder and measure the tension on both ends. That difference tells them the exact coefficient of friction. And that data is crucial for figuring out how to control it. So, if friction is both this hero and this villain, the huge challenge for textile engineers is how to tame it, right? How do you get all the amazing creative benefits without all the destructive consequences? This really is the million-dollar question in textile science. How do you find that perfect sweet spot? How do you keep just enough friction to hold a yarn together, but not so much that it completely shreds itself on the loom?
Well, engineers have a whole toolbox of tricks. They can use lubrication, adding special oils to help the fibers slide past each other more easily. They also use chemical treatments like smoothing out the naturally sharp scales on wool fibers. And finally, there are all sorts of finishing processes, like adding softeners that give a fabric its final feel and performance. Okay, but here's where it gets really cool. Just when you think you got a handle on friction, it turns out some materials have this secret identity, where friction behaves in a way you'd never expect. Take wool, for instance. As this quote points out, the friction of a wool fiber isn't some constant number. Nope, it completely changes depending on which direction you're rubbing it. How is that even possible? Well, it's all because wool fibers are covered in these tiny overlapping scales, kind of like shingles on a roof. Or an even better way to think about it is like petting a cat. If you rub the fiber with the grain, from root to tip, it's smooth. But if you rub it against the grain, the scales catch, and that creates way more friction. This amazing phenomenon is called the directional frictional effect, or DFE, and it's actually what allows wool to naturally felt together. So, the next time you pull on a sweater or a t-shirt, just take a second to think about that unseen force, that perfectly engineered balance of grip and slip holding it all together. Is the friction in your fabric a hero, a villain, or, as we've just seen, something much, much more complicated?